I believe in the Jingle Man. We're not supposed to talk about it now. Can't take the chance, Grandma says. Plus, I don't know how some people are going to react. Some people really lose their shit. All I know for sure is I can't tell everything here. Someone might figure out who I am and come after me. We grew up religious. I mean, suits and ties and Sunday dresses for church every weekend. We sang in the choir, we went to bingo nights, bake sales, and all kinds of other fundraisers and church dinners, and we hated it. But we would never tell Mama that, and we certainly would never, ever tell Grandma. Now, don't you go thinking that means we don't believe in Jesus, though, because we sure as shit do. All of us got baptized, and all of us are proud of it. They say you need Jesus, and I've seen enough people who suck in this world, so I know they need Jesus, but they just don't believe. And I'm sure the only reason we're still here after what happened to us is because we believe. We were saved, but we saw people die. So I can only make the guess that they weren't saved because they didn't believe. But that's how it went. We all hated church, but we all went there anyway. And we all believed even though we all knew so many who did not. And that's why I know that there are demons in this world. But what I didn't know was that some demons only haunt you on Christmas. Grandma knew. She was old as hell and she was crazier than anyone else, but she was also touched by God to see. Grandma could see spirits. I don't know how, but as soon as the cataracts took her eyes, Grandma could see where the evil was hiding, and she would tell me and my little brothers all about it, especially at Christmas time. Now, Mama would get mad and say Grandma was just trying to scare us, but Mama was a drunk, so Mama was not the woman to trust on things that really mattered. See, Grandma would trust me with all her secrets. She called herself God's White Witch, and she told me that one day I would be blessed to see the truth too. Now my little brothers would cry and say, "That's not fair!" But Grandma would slap their heads and say, "Shut up, stop your crying. You don't get to cry. You're men," she'd say. "God gave you the power of strength, but God gives us women the power to see, and that's just God's plan." Grandma always knew how to make the world make sense. She'd say, "I'm too old to lie anymore." I always liked that. And I always hoped that my mama would hurry up and grow old sooner instead of later so she'd stop lying too. Now, we knew Santa wasn't real. Grandma told us one year and said that Santa was just a make-believe story for people with money. But she did say that the spirit of Christmas was real and he came to steal the joy of the Christ child's birthday. And Grandma called him the Jingle Man. And Grandma said, "You knew when he was near because he would ring his bells at night. That's why you sing songs about a silent night," Grandma said. "You never want to hear bells at night around Christmas, but what about jingle bells?" my little brothers would ask. But Grandma would say, "You hear how scary that Carol of the Bells song is? That's 'cause it's a warning." Grandma explained that all the non-believers think it's Santa who sees you when you're sleeping. They think it's Santa who knows when you've been bad or good. They think it's Santa who's got the naughty list. But Santa's not real. It's the Jingle Man. And you know when he's around because you can hear his little sleigh bells ringing. And if you're naughty, the Jingle Man will come to take you away. Now, I gotta admit that I didn't want to believe in the Jingle Man, but I also knew that my grandmother would never lie to me. So I said nothing in the beginning. I would just let my little brothers do it all for me. "We believe! We believe!" they'd say. And I'd just smile and nod. And that's the way it went for a long time, until Christmas Eve. That's the night that Daddy came home. I don't know why Mama let him in the apartment, but when we walked in the door, there he was, smiling and cuddling with Mama, acting like everything had always been that way. He got in our faces and smiled and hugged us, but we were frozen. Our faces were like statues. We weren't sad. We were angry. But we kept our mouths shut. And Mama got mad real quick. She told us we ought to be ashamed of ourselves. She said we had to say something, but we were silent like gravestones. So Mama cursed at us and whooped us good and chased us away into our bedroom. We knew that meant don't come out till morning. No supper, no time to say sorry, no Christmas Eve. My little brothers cried till they finally fell asleep. I think it wasn't just because it was Christmas Eve. I think it was because Daddy had been so mean to them last time he came home. I think they were afraid it was going to happen again. But not me. I just wished we had a cell phone to call Grandma. Grandma would know what to do. She would see what needed to happen next. I thought about when we had talked about Daddy before. Whatever you do, she said, do not call the cops. Grandma didn't like the policeman. I didn't really care what we did so long as Daddy went away again. So I laid there in bed ignoring the noises. I fell asleep eventually. It was like our cousins always said, you just gotta count till you can't count anymore. Sooner or later, the sleep catches up with your number. I woke up to the sound of bells. My eyes opened and I picked my head up off the pillow. My little brothers woke up too. What was that sound? They asked. I don't know, I said, but we gotta stay quiet. They looked at me with big puppy dog eyes. Good boy eyes, Grandma called them. I knew they would behave. Then there was a banging on the wall and we all jumped out of bed. We heard Daddy yelling in the other room. Stop that fucking noise, he screamed. Go to sleep, he shouted. Mama and Daddy argued for a little bit after that, then it all got quiet. But then the bells rang again. Our bedroom door flung open and the bells stopped. Daddy pulled me up by my arm and he threw me into the hallway. I told you, he yelled. Go the fuck to sleep. My little brothers were crying and Daddy started slapping them. He hit them both hard every time he talked, again and again. Shut your motherfucking mouths, he hit and yelled. Then Mama ran past me and jumped on his back and she was screaming, but then Daddy grabbed her and smacked her head hard into the wall, and I saw blood gush out of her nose. Mama slid to the floor. She was crying. You touch me like that again, Daddy said. I'll fucking kill you, bitch. Daddy let Mama go and my little brothers rushed over to her. They hugged her tight and cried into her nightshirt. Daddy pulled me up by my wrist and pushed me back into the bedroom. Not another fucking sound, Daddy said to me. Then he slammed the door shut. We all cried together on the floor in the dark. We were all quiet as could be after that. But Mama was angry at us. Why can't you all just be quiet? Mama said. Why can't you just shut up for one night? I grabbed a bandana off the nightstand and I gave it to Mama. She wiped the blood from her nose. And I just stared at her for a long time. Her eye was swole up then, too. She cried herself to sleep after that. But I couldn't. I wish I believed the way Grandma believed. I wish I could see the way she said I could. Have to know how to see, she used to tell me, but I didn't know how then. Sometimes I wish I still can't. But that's not God's plan. It was later when the bells started ringing again. That's it, Daddy yelled. Told you all to shut the fuck up. Mama was on me before I could stand. She yanked me by my braids to the other side of the room and started smacking the shit out of me. Why? She screamed. Why you gotta do this again? Why won't you just stay fucking quiet? I could hear my little brothers were waking up then too. Then I heard the door fly open and the bells stopped. We all stared up at Daddy in the doorway. "What the fuck you all trying to do to me tonight?" Daddy asked. "You think this is a joke? You think we doing this all night?" We stared up at him when suddenly the bell rang again. Daddy stopped and looked behind him. He turned back again to us when something ripped him through the doorway and into the empty hallway. He was gone. Mama took a step forward, but I grabbed her hand. "Mama, don't!" I shouted. Mama cursed at me and snatched her hand away. She looked at me and my little brothers, then she walked out into the dark hall. The bells rang again and the bedroom door slammed shut. And then the night was silent. No more bells. Mama was gone now too. After a long time, I decided I had enough waiting. I opened the door, but my little brothers grabbed my shirt and pulled on me. "No! No!" they yelled at me. "Stop it!" I yelled back. "I gotta go see if Mama's all right." "No, no!" they begged. "Take us with you, okay?" I yelled at them and they got quiet. "But if I tell you to run, you better believe me and run." They looked at me with those big puppy dog eyes and nodded. We started down the hallway. It was dark. And then I heard a choking sound. It was almost like a cough. I thought of my cousins again. I used my hands to guide my little brothers' heads to follow close behind me as we walked further. We came around the corner to the TV room and froze like solid ice. I wanted to scream, but the sounds were trapped in my throat. Standing naked in front of us were Mama and Daddy. They were both covered in blood. Their eyes were barely open, but their mouths were wide and slack-jawed. And both their heads were bent backwards. If I hadn't seen that they were breathing, I would have thought that they were dead. Their bloody hands looked the most alive. Clenching tight in their fists were ropes and sheets of each other's ripped up skin. It looked like they had gotten stuck tearing each other open. The bloody skin was stretched out tight like it was holding them both up from falling. Mama choked again and blood spilled out of her mouth. I wanted Grandma to come save us now. I wanted her to see what was happening. But then, for the first time, I could really see. I could see why Mama and Daddy were still standing. In the dark, I saw the hidden giant that stood between them. I could finally see its claws were dug in deep under both their armpits, and that's when the Jingle Man could see that I could see him. He let Mama and Daddy go, and they both fell to the floor with a plop. I started breathing heavy. That scream was still trapped in me. The giant stepped closer, his bald head scraping the ceiling when he moved, and with every little step, I could hear the bells jingle. He came closer, and I could see him better now. He was a giant, muddy skeleton thing, but his great skull had no eyes. Just like Grandma could see the spirits with her cataracts, I knew that the Jingle Man could see us without any eyes. He opened his long, bony arms, and I could see the tiny sleigh bells wrapped up and down him like decorations. Grandma was right. The spirit of Christmas was real, and he had come to take Mama and Daddy away. Then we heard his bells ringing. "Run!" I finally screamed, and we turned and we ran as fast as we could down the hallway. I pushed my little brothers back into our bedroom and I slammed the door. My brothers cried, "What? What was it? What did you see?" But I pushed them to the window. I yanked and I pulled at the thing, but it wouldn't move. "We need to get out now! Right now!" I screamed as I pulled the window open a crack. Then my little brothers picked up their toys and smashed the window apart. The glass shattered everywhere and the cold wind blew inside. I grabbed a blanket and I laid it over the sill. "Go, boys, right now, outside," I said. But my little brothers wouldn't move. "It's cold out there," they whined. But I wasn't having it. I said move, I yelled, and we all climbed out of the window and onto the icy fire escape. We climbed down and ran out into the snowy streets. I grabbed them both up as fast as I could. It was cold, and the snow made it hard to see, but we made our way to the church. We beat on those doors till they finally opened. The pastor let us in, and we knew we could only tell Grandma what had happened. We knew no one else would believe us. We cuddled up together in the parlor under the community Christmas tree. We never said a word when the police showed up. We never said a word when the child service people showed up, too. We only spoke when the pastor wheeled in Grandma. We ran over to her and hugged her and shouted at her like barking dogs. We told her Mama and Daddy were dead, but she told us to be quiet now. So we listened, and the police let us go home with her that Christmas Eve. Grandma looked at me with those cataracts eyes when the church bus took us home. She smiled even though she was crying. I said I was sorry that Mama was gone, but Grandma shook her head. "You know how to see," she said softly. "That's why you're here." I believed her. I believed harder than I've ever believed before. We got away because we believed. We were saved because we saw the truth. That was the moment I knew I would always believe. I made the promise to Jesus and Grandma and my little brothers right then. I believe in the Jingle Man.